Scout pulse.
What's up, gaming fans? It is Preach as always. So today's video is going to be a little bit different one than usual. We are going to be discussing controller versus keyboard and mouse because I've seen a lot of debate online about this with Black Ops 6 specifically. Just a lot of talk that the game was not optimized for mouse and keyboard with the Omni movement system and how it seems to work. And so I wanted to see how it felt on mouse and keyboard, and I want to go ahead and preface this with a couple things. I was using my wife's Xbox account on my laptop so that I could play the game on mouse and keyboard like that. And while doing so, early on, I played with a controller to try to bump up her skill-based matchmaking, but by the time we got to this game, there probably still is some benefit coming my way to the skill-based matchmaking. I want that out in the open to begin with so that we don't have to discuss it later in the video. The other thing is this, though, and I filmed on my phone so I can prove this. I was sitting on my couch with a little lap desk with one of those tiny little rectangle mouse pads on that lap desk where I had no room to move my mouse. I had about a ½ inch left and a ½ inch right. So I had to increase my mouse sensitivity drastically because I could only move it very limited amounts of distance. So to be able to even turn, I had to crank the sensitivity. So this is not a perfect test, but I still did pretty well, and that's what I want to discuss. I don't know that it is as bad as people are letting on. Before we continue farther into this video, though, if you guys like this video, you already know what to do. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video. Now, here's the thing about this. Is controller easier for me? Yes, because that is the input that I am used to. But I've played on mouse and keyboard enough that I can do pretty well on it. I had 60 kill games back in Cold War on mouse and keyboard on a laptop. So I can play on mouse and keyboard. I've done different stretches where I played that way just to help my posture and to feel a little bit better, you know, for my life using it. But controller is my primary input. So this is a secondary input for me, and I was playing in less than optimal conditions on that lap desk. Yet I still had good plays, good shots, and the movement did not feel all that bad to me. And for somebody who is not used to mouse and keyboard, I thought that would feel way worse with this Omni movement. Now, that might be because I'm already just not good at moving on mouse and keyboard, so I didn't notice the difference that it was worse now. Or maybe it's just that it's not as bad as people are trying to make it out to be. I'm not really sure. I don't know if people who play on mouse and keyboard are just coping a little bit because they haven't gotten used to the movement yet, and so they're blaming it on that. But I don't think that is the case, before you get all up in a tizzy over this, because I've seen a couple other videos where people who are primarily mouse and keyboard players decided to try this on controller, Drifter being a perfect example, and said that it just felt a lot more comfortable for them to play on controller. It seemed more simple, and something that's been pointed out, and maybe you guys can agree with this, disagree, it doesn't really matter, but there's potential that mouse and keyboard actually limits what you can do movement-wise because you only get 8 types of direction. You can do your WASD for forward, backwards, left, and right, but you also can do 2 keys at one time to move in a diagonal direction. But what a joystick allows you to do is move in any direction at any time just by turning the joystick. So the actual movement itself is probably easier, more natural on a controller compared to mouse and keyboard. Now, with controller, you also get aim assist that is non-existent on mouse and keyboard. For me, in this gameplay, that did not make a difference to me. Aim assist was nerfed this year, and it needed to be. That's not a complaint. Aim assist needed to be nerfed, and what they did this year was they took your rotational aim assist inside of like 4 or 5 meters or yards, and they eliminated it basically. So you're only getting aim assist outside of those super up close gunfights, which is still super helpful, but it keeps you from just rotating with somebody who jumps right by your face by the computer just doing it for you. And that needed to happen. But overall, I just really didn't notice a difference in my aim on controller versus on the mouse. That's personal, though. That could be different for other people. So take that with a grain of salt. That's going to be something that you experience for yourself, and let me know how it is for you in the comments section below. The other big thing that I want to point out with mouse and keyboard is that the diving and the slide buttons are on separate inputs. They're not put to the same input. So like on controller, you have tap to slide or tap to dive or hold, or like a hybrid where the game kind of decides based on whether you're sprinting or not, whether it's going to slide or dive. Well, on keyboard, you actually have two separate inputs. So you can manually choose whether to slide or dive pretty easily in your choices because they're separate buttons. So you're not going to accidentally dive when you meant to slide or accidentally slide when you meant to dive, like can sometimes happen on a controller. But the natural placement for this, and I know that you can change it with keybinds, but the natural placement for this is the control button for dive and your C button for slide. And reaching to that control with my pinky while trying to do all the other advanced movement stuff was very weird feeling to me. So diving and aiming and all that, it felt like it took a lot of concentration, but that may just be me not being a normal keyboard player. But that's something to keep in mind. The control button may feel weird when trying to dive, but overall, my assessment, and I know this is a shorter video, my assessment is mouse and keyboard is really not that much more difficult than controller on this. And this is from somebody who primaries a controller. That's pretty much all I play on, except for when I'm trying to help my back feel better. So anybody that's complaining about mouse and keyboard, that may be because they're just more experienced on mouse and keyboard than I am. But it may also just be some copium from not doing well early with this movement, and once they get more used to it, those complaints may fizzle out some. If you play on mouse and keyboard, let me know in the comments section below. This is not meant to bash controller or mouse and keyboard players either way. Just trying to give you guys my experience so far with it. But I'm just one guy, so let me know your experiences. If you enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, turn those bell notifications on if you want to know every time I post a new video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Preach out.